incensed Holness called Mr. Bunting rude, bright, and out of order.
I don't just come and take figures glibly. I take my responsibility seriously. When I was leader of opposition of government business, I came to you, Mr. Bunting, from Central Manchester, and I sat with you when this nation had the greatest opportunity to bring crime under control. I came to you and I sat with you and I said to you, join us. We have criminals on the retreat. We were uprooting the criminal gangs, and I asked you, please join with us then to extend the state of emergency into St. Catherine, where we would have been able to deal with one of the most dangerous criminal gangs in Jamaica. And you, member from Central Manchester, refused. Had we done that, we would have uprooted the most dangerous criminal gang in Jamaica. And today, Jamaicans would have benefited from the country. But you played politics then, and you are trying to play politics now. I will not allow you to do it. Jamaica will not allow you to do it. Don't ever come in here and try to bring politics in this. Don't disrespect me. You're out of order.
And under our constitutional arrangements, it does not matter whether you're a JLP or a PNP or what, any P. What matters is whether you support the government's principles and programs and will vote with the Prime Minister on matters. That's what makes you a government MP.
The 2010 state of public emergency, which gave you a 21% reduction, then a slight carry-on reduction in 2012. Madam Speaker, I still posit that if the opposition then had supported the government in extending the state of public emergency, the fall in murders would have been even greater.
Vote, as recorded by the clerk, is as follows: 13 ayes, 3 noes, 5 absences, so that the resolutions put before this Honorable Senate, the Emergency Powers Continuous Resolution for the parishes of St. James, Westmoreland, Hanover, and the Emergency Powers Specified Areas of Kingston and St. Andrew Continuous Resolution is not approved.
It's a sad day for the people of Jamaica, and in particular it is a sad day for the people who live in the communities covered by the 7 divisions of the state of public emergency. We convey our apologies to the security forces who recommended and who have been utilizing the space and who had hoped that the debate today would rise to the level of reason and regard for the professional advice given and the realities on the ground. But it is what it is. We have reached where we are, and I only regret that as leader of government business, that the Senate has not delivered a better result to the people of Jamaica today.
Leader of government business, and I address the members of the Senate, and in fact, as the President of the Senate, in whom a degree of responsibility has been vested, I do not, of course, participate in the debate. It does not, however, mean that I cannot voice a view and call the attention of the people of Jamaica from every quarter, from the university, from the communities, various communities across Jamaica, from the Bar Association, members of the legal fraternity, I wish to bring to your attention, all of Jamaica, the need to revisit a provision which allows for two members of the lower house, Member Golden and Member Cousins, two members of the lower house, neither of whom come from the parishes of St. James, Westmoreland, or Hanover, which is the epicenter of the problem that we face today. So two members of the lower house voted against these resolutions. Two members of the lower house voted against the state of emergency, and as a consequence of a particular provision in our constitution, the matter came to the Senate and required one vote. In the upshot, 3 unelected members of this House have voted against this resolution. No account has been taken of the elected representatives from Hanover, St. James, and Westmoreland, all of whom supported the state of emergency. Where is that an expression of democracy? 3 unelected, 3, not even 8 of them, 3 unelected members of this Senate have put the security of this nation on a knife's edge. So I ask every member of this country, every citizen of this country, and those who reside beyond our shores, you tell me, there are 63 members of parliament, 2 of them, neither of whom, I think one of them represents an area under the state of emergency. 2 members of the lower house voted against this resolution, 2, and 3 unelected members. Senator Crawford, who is the only one who has remained here, Senator Bunting, and Senator Morris, none of them who have anything to do with the parishes and the divisions where crime is making our citizens' life a nightmare. But let me tell you something. This country needs to revisit this provision because it flies it flies in the face of everything that is sensible. And for those of you who don't know why this provision is here and why it is Senator Brown and Senator Bunting continue to call the name of the Right Honorable Edward Seaga, that provision was put here because of the illegal, corrupt 1976 state of emergency.
We cannot and will not stand by and allow this sabotage of our country to continue. The Cabinet has accordingly advised the Governor General to act and proclaim a state of public emergency.
When they called the state of emergency, they locked up all the frontline leadership of the Jamaica Labour Party, the frontline workers. I was one of those who was locked up. I was detained for 7 months, kept in indefinite detention, no charge.
Now I am calling, Tom Tavares Finson, the President of the Senate. I'm calling on the head of the churches, I'm calling on civic organizations, I'm calling on the business community, the PSOJ, I'm calling on every sensible Jamaican to look at what has happened to here today and listen to me as I finally say. 2 members of parliament, not the entire opposition caucus, 2 and 3 unelected members of this Senate have put this country in grave danger.
Commissioner of Police Anthony Anderson is also hereby being put on warning. The constitutionality of his use of the state of emergency is in serious doubt. As I have already shown, there are other tools in the toolbox for him to use, and some others that the government needs to quickly deal with and address to provide him with, which should have been legislated for already. If the Commissioner cannot find another strategic approach to getting the crime problem under control within the next 60 days, I think he must call it a day as well and allow someone else to take up the mantle of Commissioner. Thank you.
So I make no apologies for asking for SOEs, because as a security professional, as somebody who knows this business, I know that if added to other things that we're doing, it will create a better effect.
For the first time in the history of the force, the establishment strength of 14,000 officers has been met. More police officers and more vehicles mean greater coverage of our communities and more rapid responses to threats and citizen emergencies. I want to draw your attention to the graph being displayed, or about to be displayed. It is the same graph that I believe the leader of the opposition displayed. But he had a different interpretation of the statistics. Let me offer mine. Let us recall that the drop in murders from 2009 to 2014, which you see as the first arrow, for which the opposition seeks to take credit, was a direct result of the state of public emergency launched in May 2010 by the Jamaica Labour Party administration. Which dismantled and scattered the gangs and created a 21% drop in murders in 2011. 21% drop in murders in 2011. No other police action has resulted in any such drop. Madam Speaker, data and intelligence confirms that Jamaica's chronic violence is driven by organized criminal enterprises, euphemistically called gangs. It's not sociological or economic factors like poverty or unemployment that drives violence, as the opposition would have us believe. More than 70% of murders in Jamaica are directly related to gangs. In 2011, murders stabilized, as you can see, and in 2012 stabilized. This created a respite where targeted police operations against gangs and violence producers resulted in 2024 having the lowest number of murders in the last 20 years. So 2014 was the lowest number of murders, and that is under the PNP in the last 20 years. But it's not as a result of the PNP's action. It is as a result of the 2010 state of public emergency, which gave you a 21% reduction. Then a slight carry-on reduction in 2012. So in 2013, there was a little spike in murders. And in 2014, in mid-2014, the PNP introduced the Unite for Change, an ostensible crime-fighting strategy that leaned heavily on social interventions. There was also a change of police commissioners and an apparent change in crime-fighting strategy. By 2015, murders began to rise again under the PNP, even with the much-touted Unite for Change initiative in full effect. The truth, Madam Speaker, is that the PNP shifted focus from targeted operations against gangs and gang leaders and allowed them space to regroup. The number of gangs in the country increased from 200 in 2010 to 350 by 2016. And we saw the impact of this from 2015 through 2017. That is why my administration decided to take decisive actions. We recognize the emergency threat organized criminal enterprises and violence producers pose to specific communities and the country generally. We responded with zones of special operations and states of public emergencies to halt the persistent spiral in murders from 2015 to 2017. The SOEs and zones of special operations were successful in taking back communities from gangs, displacing criminals, disrupting their operations, and limiting their space and opportunity to commit crimes. That's what the SOEs do. This resulted, Madam Speaker, in a 22% reduction in murders in 2018 and a leveling off between 2019 and 2020. The success of the SOEs and the ZOSOs came with the support of the opposition at the time. And I here must give credit to the former leader of the opposition, the Honorable Dr. Peter Phillips, who understood their necessity and supported their extensions. However, since the change in leadership in the opposition in 2020, we have not been able to use the SOEs to full effect. We have used them, but not to full effect. And we saw a 10% spike in murders in 2021. This could have been prevented and lives saved if narrow political interests parading as protecting rights did not blind the current opposition leader to protecting the right to life of the victims of murder by supporting extensions of the SOE. Madam Speaker, in parallel with emergency measures, this administration in 2018 embarked on an ambitious plan to indigenously reform and reorganize the JCF under the direction of a new commissioner, Major General Anthony Anderson, to include development of leadership, recruitment and training of personnel, and the acquisition of material and technology. It was never the intention of the government to rely solely on emergency measures. We used emergency measures to treat with the crime situation, which was over and above the existing capacity of regular law enforcement at the time. And we used the space and attenuation it created to build the capacity of the security forces. Therefore, in 2022, we began to realize the impact of the reforms and capability building investments in the JCF. With improved intelligence gathering, better investigative and crime-solving capabilities, and a return to more targeted and focused strategies on gangs and violence producers, during this period, we saw the interdiction and prosecution of several gangs. Now, a lot of people didn't understand that while the opposition and other, talking heads and so forth were criticizing the government over SOEs, we were quietly taking down the gangs. We brought about 4 major gangs through the court system using the anti-gang legislation, which had never been used before it was passed. We didn't say anything about it. Before, it was never used when it was passed. Never used. Never used. Right? And we now have how many on trial? And we have 19 cases now coming up. So we were, you know, we were being criticized, and everybody wants to claim and criticize the government and all, making all kinds of claims. Well, we were strategic, doing what we were doing, because we know what the real problem was. And we know that our investment was going to pay off. And then you began to see the impact of better investigations. Several really terrible atrocities and crimes were committed, and within weeks and months, the member from East Kingston and Port Royal can attest to that. Very effective investigations. So that is as a direct result of government strategy and investment and improvement. So while the opposition and other talking heads were busy criticizing government strategy and policy, we were quietly doing what we know need to be done. So, Madam Speaker, today we can say that year to date, murders are at their lowest level in 25 years. The Minister of National Security tells me that we are 33% behind where we were last year. But I still lament that had we the support of the opposition in the use of SOEs, the fall in murders would have been even greater. So let me be clear. The PNP, under this leader of the opposition, can take no credit for the reduction in murders. They have done everything possible to obstruct the government. Everything possible to obstruct the government, and now want to stand up and claim credit. Madam Speaker, we will continue to invest in our security forces and support the transformation of the JCF into a modern, professional, and technology-driven security force. We will continue to target gangs, which account for 70% of murders in the country. If we focus on eliminating gangs, we can reduce our murder rate to below the regional average of 15 per 100,000. And I'm pleased to announce, Madam Speaker, that police intelligence now estimates, listen to this one, police intelligence now estimates that there are fewer than 100 active gangs in Jamaica since the beginning of the year, coming from 350. Many have been dismantled or have gone dormant. They are laying low because they know they are being hunted relentlessly by the security forces. Madam Speaker, this administration takes national security seriously, and through the National Security Council, something that we have instituted in a consistent way, we have been able to coordinate, enhance, and strengthen the work and collaborative efforts of various security forces to yield greater synergies from our security forces. And again, I would like to acknowledge and thank, but most importantly, encourage the members of our security forces. Through their respective heads, the Chief of Defense Staff of the JDF Vice Admiral Antoinette Weems Gorman, CD, Commissioner of Police Dr. Kevin Blake, CD, Director General of MOCA Colonel Desmond Edwards, and Commissioner of Customs Dr. Velma Ricketts Walker, CD. Continue with your concerted effort to make Jamaica safe. Together, we will eliminate the gangs and bring peace to our country.
You can sleep with your windows and doors open. Fantasy again.
You will well recall when the Prime Minister said that if you vote for the PNP, you may lose your life. And that if you vote for the Labour Party, you'll be able to leave your windows and doors open.
Without question, that was not a promise, that was a commitment. And we remain absolutely committed to that.
Having visited the first zone of special operation, that the people there, without prompting, came out and said, "Thank you, I can sleep with my window and door open."
You make me sleep in the window and door open.
No, some people take it as a joke, but they were serious.
So one of my questions that I wanted to ask was, today during the Prime Minister's, soon-to-be former Prime Minister's budgetary presentation, he made a comment to say that murder actually went down due to the state of emergency that took place in West Kingston. I'm from West Kingston, and I would have seen constitutional breaches, persons being murdered in cold blood. And I'm concerned with because for me, I know it's a class thing when they attack persons, because if you're from the ghetto, police, the reality is the police and the soldier, they don't come to you and they don't say, hey, whatever, they approach the persons in an aggressive tone. So for me, I feel as if persons within the PNP areas, they are being targeted. I don't want to bash the police, but I'm seeing where in Jarrett Lane, I've heard of cases in Mona Commons and other areas within the constituency where police are targeting persons. And how do we move forward, and what would be the plans to incorporate and to have unity between the police and the citizens? I remember when Steve McGregor was at Central, he was able to speak with the persons downtown, where I think he was even placed at Denham Town. He was able to speak to persons. What would be the approach for this upcoming PNP government? Because I know, fine, I don't have the experience. I have persons living in the ghetto, and their experience might be different.
The small businesses in Augustown should enjoy the University Township. And presently now, we are restricted by so many other security projects, which is, I believe it is unfair. But at the same time, when we understand the issue and the environment, we need to find a balance so that the people themselves can enjoy a decent life, do their business, and decide whether or not they want to keep their party. Because you can keep a party next week, this week, you shut down here, that boy, you can't keep party, and there's no explanation. The people are not a part of a process that let them feel as if we are in this together. What I would really like to see, because as councillor, I get the complaints every day. And therefore, I tell them that we want to see the kind of conversation between the state security, the community security, and how we work those things through. All right, because I believe community policing should play a real role in these kind of communities. It has reaped up fruits already, and I believe that this kind of standoff between the security forces and the residents is not going to put us anywhere. We need to come together at the table to decide that this is the best way forward, and see how best we can continue the living that we're having in Augustown here.
Councillor, you have really answered the question which you posed. Augustown is a model for what can happen when people work together and when people have the same goals and the same objectives. Because it has been the subject of studies, not just locally, but internationally. It is a model that any prudent government would embrace. The People's National Party does not believe in repression and oppression of the people. We believe that we should bring out the very best in people, and we do so by consultation and discussion. Community policing is always a way to go. But what is more important is when a community decides how it wants to live. And peace will bring wealth. You spoke about the university community. Augustown, everybody in here should be wealthy, should have their own home, should have a business, a thriving business, because you are so positioned that you can make it possible. Our administration, the administration which will shortly be in power, will not be advocating for repressive moves. We will ensure that you will be able to move freely with dignity. At the same time, we are going to insist that you obey the law. Now I'm going to ask the party leader to come in on this, because Nkana was always present here. So he understands the dynamics of the community, and I can see that he wants to say a few words.
Thank you very much. Darrington, I mean, you're absolutely right. The historical heritage of Augustown is important. Bedward is a very important historical figure in the Jamaican culture and politics. The ZOSO is supposed to bring security in a situation where things have got out of hand. And then when that has been achieved, it must be about now, how do we develop the community so that we don't go back to that place? And I think that's where the stumbling block is. You know, the security forces need to be guided as to how that should work. And the way that we deal with permits in this country for entertainment events in communities needs to be overhauled. There's a lot of arbitrary behavior. It is used as a punishment more time, and you don't know who or why these decisions are being taken. You just feel that it is being taken because the people want to keep you down. And that can't be right. And so we have to put a proper system, a transparent system, which the community itself must be part of developing, so that people know and understand in what circumstances music can play for how long, and when it can't, and reasons why, and we just move forward like that. But of course, entertainment is part of our culture. We love the niceness, and we want, you know, enjoy ourselves, and we want to do a little selling there too, and money can run through the community and so on. And of course, if it's nice, people will come from outside and say, what? Man, for come to Augustown and come listen to sound because you know some niceness. So we want that kind of vibe to flow.
And remember, you know, Augustown was a place which was chosen to be named after Emancipation Day. That is why you're called Augustown. So your legacy and your history goes back to the liberation of oppression.
But and so we can't pick up ourselves now because we have enough potential here in Augustown. But the bigger thing, the other thing I think that we need to deal with is the ZOSO and the lack and the problem you have when you don't know how will a ZOSO get lifted. Yes, Comrade Donna Scott Matley and Comrade Leader, this is a problem we have to solve. What will cause a ZOSO to be lifted in a community? This is the longest standing ZOSO in Augustown in Jamaica. From them introduce it, a ZOSO is introduced, and it's still under ZOSO. When you come into your community and you see soldier checkpoint, it gives you a different kind of viewpoint of your community. You don't feel good. When do you take up a soldier checkpoint? When do you stop putting people under pressure? When do you begin to move that ZOSO out into development? And what will cause it to be lifted? Because there must be a way to get out of underneath a particular kind of oppressive law. That police can come in here and say curfew today.
The way that the ZOSO law is written, once it is declared, it has to come to Parliament at intervals to be renewed. And they used to come very frequently, and they extended the period now to, I think, 6 monthly intervals. But there's been no clear policy direction from the Minister of National Security as to what needs to happen, what the circumstances have to be like for them to say, okay, we've gone far enough with this particular thing and we need to move on. So we don't really know what it is that what the criteria are, that would say, oh yes, all right, it's time to move on from ZOSO. And I think that discussion needs to be had because some of the communities have been there. I mean, for example, Mount Salem, where this youth have come from, yeah, that has been under ZOSO from 2017. Yeah, I think. It was the first with Denham Town. Both of them are still under ZOSO. Augustown has been on it for many years now. I don't even know how long it is. So, you know, we need some clear policy direction around it. And I think we need to have, for me, the way to deal with that was to have community engagement and say, how does it work? Are you happy about it? Do you feel it has achieved something? What is the positives? What are the negatives? And how do we move forward? Because at the end of the day, the law must be for the people's benefit. The law was made because we thought, not us, but the government was trying to deal with that situation. We put our thoughts into it because there were certain things in there at the time that would have made it very oppressive, and we argued against those things and got some things changed. But it's not perfect, and the people who live through that experience must be our guide as to what needs to happen and how it ought to be dealt with on an ongoing basis. So to us, consultation with the people must be very much part of developing the policy as to how you come out of this situation.
Thank you for that feedback and the comment from our councillor.
Madam Speaker, the role of the JDF in the overall reduction in violent crime through their support for the JCF is crucial, particularly in areas where specialized security measures have been declared, that is the zones of special operations and states of public emergency. The JDF is the premier defense force in CARICOM.
Some of our members from the People's National Party walked in, and so we must, hail them up. First and foremost, we have our region chair for Region 3, that's Kingston and St. Andrew, which we live, Comrade Dennis Gordon, big him up, next member of Parliament for East Central St. Andrew. Thank you for joining us, Comrade Chair. We appreciate your presence. Comrade Richie Parchment, former member of Parliament for Southwest St. Elizabeth, right? The Southeast? Alright, Southeast St. Elizabeth. I never remember which one of the direction. But yes, thank you for joining us. So he's always here with us. He's no stranger to the constituency. Thank you. And Comrade, yes, sir, you did a lot of work with us in the local government region chair. Thank you.
The guys are not joking now because I just come and finish and they say they're not voting. They're not voting for anybody green, and it's their decision to vote for who they want to vote for.
They claimed that the police who reportedly shot and injured the man were not wearing uniform and entered the community in an unmarked vehicle. The residents added that the lawmen did not identify themselves before opening fire at the now injured man. Senior Superintendent of Police, SSP Marlon Nesbitt, commanding officer for St. Andrew Central, refuted the claim made by residents. He stated that the cops were on operation and came upon a group which aroused their suspicion. About 1:40 p.m., a team of officers were on duty in the Augustown area when they came upon a group of persons in the African Gardens area. Men within this group aroused police suspicion, resulting in the decision to check these men. As the police alighted from the service vehicle, one man drew a firearm and pointed it at the police, who took evasive action and fired at this man. He ran, continued to point the weapon at the police, and was shot in the process. He then ran into the premises and the police followed. SSP Nesbitt stated, on entering the premises, the police were able to retrieve the firearm, a Glock pistol with magazine containing 10 rounds. In the process of assisting the injured man, who was identified as Jermaine O'Mealy, to the hospital, the converged crowd physically prevented the police and subsequently had to retreat due to the boisterous crowd. SSP Nesbitt stated that O'Mealy was a suspect in a murder investigation in St. Andrew South Division last June and was also suspected in other criminal incidents. Nesbitt also sought to refute claims that the shooting was politically motivated. I must dispel this notion, he said, because the team of police that went there, from my certain knowledge, are professional around their work and are not in any way aligned to a political party and such type behaviors.
This is what is happening. In August zone, right now. And they're not joking, the guys are not joking now, because I just come and finish and they say they're not voting. They're not voting for anybody green, and it's their decision to vote for who they want to vote for.
So, this certainly is not so. From the police perspective, I must advise members of the public that we will endeavor at all times to be true to our oath of office and to be professional at this time as the election period unfolds. End of quote.
The period since I've been campaigning, up to Monday when Senator Bunting and I was walking, we realized that they were taking pictures and trying to find out, and we were trying to figure out what intelligence could they attain at this time for someone who have been in the DIU department and have been here for years. And therefore, I actually introduced myself to them on Monday, and it's kind of surprising to me to see this kind of action coming from them, because I see this action as intimidated and I see it as a threat to my campaign. We are saying to the JSAF and all the agencies that is affiliated with that we would like to have the kind of peace that is in Augustown that the residents have demonstrated and deserve. And that kind of behavior of trying to divide the residents because of political motive, yes or no, we will not accept.
Guys, the people them and the police, them never in a no problem until them decide say they want to do Venesha things because she crossed the floor. And I show you guys the videos and all the things that they have said following the threat of Mark Golding calling Venesha traitor on the political platform and getting his mob and his cult to go after her. These people are trying to make it look like the police are intervening or interfering in an election process. That's not so. If there's a threat to the candidate's life, they have a duty to carry out their job, to intercept that threat or the threat to anybody's life. So what they're coming and talking now, like said, them want to blame the police and them not talk about what them set up against Venesha. They're not talking about it. I encourage all well-thinking Jamaican not to support these people. They are a threat to the society. And I encourage the police them to continue doing their job. I have been warning guys for a long time, for 3 years, that these guys are very dangerous and they do not like women. You see what come happen? Them kill Melissa and cover it up and carrying on like nothing happened. These people are very dangerous. And I say to Venesha, get security because they are hell-bent that you are a traitor. I don't know what is the problem because other people cross the floor and you know see them down at Westmoreland, on platform, or rub out the man them will cross the floor. But they have it out for you, and I would not be surprised if, as a matter of fact, I don't want to talk it. Let me not say it.
Darrington Ferguson, council candidate for the People's National Party, Papi individual.
That's a tough one. I know that you're going up against a stalwart. Some would say a veteran councillor, Venesha Phillips. How do you feel about that?
The lease that was given to Venesha Phillips in the Papi division will expire when the local government elections are called. Expecting and waiting for the local government election to call to unleash all the resources that we have.
Some people would say Venesha Phillips is not a walkover because she has been there, like you have said, for 12 years. What are some of the feedbacks? I know that she should have gone on the other side. What are some of the feedback you're getting from the residents within the Papi division?
Well, the PNP supporters, especially those who are ardent supporters and comers of the party, naturally they are going to feel betrayed. There is no action that can justify that it is okay to just walk away with their vote. The People's National Party is the one who put her on the map in the division. And therefore, everyone who supported the People's National Party there would have at some point in time feel hurt. At the same time, remember, Venesha Phillips would have made friendship along the way. So there are those who will believe that it's okay, but the majority of the people will not sit well with it.
This is what is happening. In Augustone, right now. And they're not joking, the guys are not joking now, because I just come and finish and they say they're not voting. They're not voting for anybody green, and it's their decision to vote for who they want to vote for.
All right. No. I know that you would have said before, some people are upset and some people is not pleased with the switching of her. But your expectation when the local government election comes up?
I expect to win comfortable. Comfortable.
How ready is the Papine division?
The People's National Party organization in the Papine division, we are ready. We are anticipating the announcement, and as soon as that is done, then you will see the full machinery for the People's National Party on the ground, making sure that we secure victory for the People's National Party.
Guys, I'm going to show you that the People's National Party, with the Rise movement faction within, they are not good people, and they pose a threat to every woman on planet Earth. There are many people who cross the floor. You don't see them going after men. They're going after Venesha with a vengeance, and they have plot to kill her. This man right here is the leader of the cult I have been talking about. And if people were listening to me, Melissa Silvera would not have died, because she would have taken herself away from and out of this cult, right? So what they're plotting to do is to get rid of Venesha so that they can win the constituency of Papine division. Normally when you cross the floor, you go. Nobody set out to harm you. But I'm going to let you guys see the series of events and let you hear about their gunman that they set to kill Venesha. And the plot failed when the police intervened, because the police know there's tension. They make their presence felt in the area. And as soon as they roll up in the community, the boy them with them gun start fire shot off at the police, and the people them come out because them are tell lie upon the police. Them say them are the aggressor, and it's not true. And I have heard it from credible sources within the constituency. This is what led up to what is happening right now. Mark Golding taking the platform and using language to make people come after Venesha and their plot to kill her. Listen to what Mark Golding said recently.
The man who is going to show Venesha Phillips that you are a traitor, you do not survive, and success cannot be yours.
Listen to this newscast 2 days ago. It may be minimizing the seriousness of what is happening, but listen nonetheless, and I'll come back to you.
Pressure is building in the Papine division as the People's National Party, PNP, took aim at the JLP's Venesha Phillips and her seat during a party meeting in Papine, St. Andrew this week. A challenge was issued as the party seeks to dominate the polls. More from Celine Campbell.
Political shots are intensifying against political turncoat Venesha Phillips. Phillips, the incumbent in the Papine division, officially crossed the floor to sit with the Jamaica Labour Party, JLP, in December of last year. Councillor Phillips contends the PNP of old is not the same today, feeling no remorse over her move. However, during a party meeting in the division on Wednesday, PNP's General Secretary Dr. Dayton Campbell reminded PNP supporters of what he describes as their list of motivations to vote. And topping his list was the move by the sitting councillor.
Monday morning when they give you the number 2 HB pencil,
and you look on the ballot paper, and you see Ferguson Darrington, and then you see that other name, and you see the head beside Darrington, and while you take up your pencil and say, you see this your ex here, this your ex of a traitor who take the PNP seat, can't go home and live right. This your ex here.
Dr. Campbell now reasons she played a critical role in the party's demise at the time.
We lost Eastern St. Andrew. You know why we lose Eastern St. Andrew? Because the same smarty we run gone over the deception side, sabotage the PNP and make portion of get for resign as Prime Minister. One more X beside the head.
Meanwhile, party leader Mark Golding, in his charge to councillor candidates, placed strong emphasis on the importance of PNP candidate for the Pepin division, Darrington Ferguson, wresting the power from his former comrade.
Comrade Darrington, I have full faith and confidence in you to bring home Pepin for the People's National Party. Comrade Darrington, you gave me one of the sweetest feelings when you won your victory in Pepin. Believe you me, because your opponent, we don't say nothing. We just glad say you give it a victory. Cross. 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 And I want to thank everybody inside here who played any role in that happening. You know, who step forward with Darrington and make sure say we win the Pepin division. Because what? We now have the KSAMC, Andrew Sweeney is the mayor. And he's doing good things. We're doing good things. So it is a wonderful thing, really a wonderful thing. Comrades, I sat through a very long and fairly boring speech in Parliament today, you know?
Embarrassing.
When I saw all the diplomats leave, I thought, boy, the thing really not looking good. You know? I want to big up Comrade Patricia Duncan Sutherland, next Member of Parliament, Eastern St. Andrew. My brethren, Dr. Andre Harton, next Member of Parliament, West Central St. James. Yeah. Comrade Darrington, Councillor for Pepin Division. Comrade Little, caretaker for Mona Division. All of the comrades in the house, all of the supporters in the house. And you know, you have a candidate in Trisha who is a very experienced person. She has lived through many things in life. She is very capable and her heart is with the people. She will be an excellent Member of Parliament, an excellent representative for you. And I know that she's working hard to make that happen. And she has my full support, full support. Make up on the mind. Work has to be done. It's not going to just happen so. We have to make sure that every comrade who voted for the People's National Party in 2011 and delivered the victory, if they're still alive, they have to go vote when the election call. And even some who are not alive, you know, if them can deal with it, no problem. Because as them say, we name power. Power party.
And just step up and get busy and get wicked on them touch. Like you think this thing gonna come easy. You're fooling yourself. Nah, come easy, baby, right? Nah, give up this so easy. Jamaica, what's he say? The table turn. We don't take this thing serious. Make some sacrifice so make we come through this time. We have built something together in our people. We have built that thing for the People's National Party. Enough of you don't really know me, you know. Probably somebody else said me for the first time, I listened for the first time. We want to understand who it is. See? Because John will represent heart of the PNP. Yeah. I'm proud of them. And then we got strength. We don't feel no guy. No guy in a parliament can't tell me nothing. I just 14 away in there. But the 40, how much of them 49 of them? Enough of them now, nothing for say. Enough of them just dead like some empty barrel and big pure nice. We're not afraid of them.
And of course, the labor right them must say we are sabotage the thing. They're so damn fool. Them paranoid.